Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. And this week we'll form a space of kind of tranquil reflection, inspired a bit by elements of a cave, that cool, dark, surrounding space that maybe you've experienced before in your life. There's a bit of a sereneness, a quality of the quiet and the tranquil there, a chance to just sit and be. We'll take some play and liberty with it and have a little fun, but that's our starting point, and let it expand out into a framing on the page, give it a little character to its materiality, and then render what we can from that occupation of a space of tranquility. I'm going to use a pen for the exercise, but anything will work. Pen, pencil, charcoal, whatever you like to work with. A little piece of Bristol sketchbook or piece of notebook paper, anything you have handy will work just fine. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. I'm just going to use a pen today, but I have a pencil ready just in case for some reason. And I'm not sure what this was called, but then I just happened to see something pop up at a web page that was open that had the word tranquility on it. So maybe we'll start there as our inspiration. And then just a little idea about a space inside something like a cave, starting with just a bit of a stalactite, stalagmite relationship, and then forming it out in that holding quiet place of tranquility. So we'll use that as our guide. So it doesn't have to look like a cave. Maybe it looks like an apple core, or the inside of a pepper, or anything that forms there. But that's what came to my mind. So maybe a quick start. We can imagine the shape of kind of a cone thing hanging down from the ceiling. There are all sorts of types of them, but it doesn't really matter specifically. And its reciprocal counterpart reaching up from the floor as the minerals slowly drip and form. And there may be many of those, some in the background, layered beyond it, some near the front and the foreground, and each one with a similar relationship above. Similar sizes, but they don't have to be the same. Moving at the beginning of that space between the floor and the ceiling, and the bridging elements between them not quite touching columns. Maybe they could touch too. Eventually they do. And we'll work our way out until we can eventually wrap that space in some way. It's smooth or complex, just giving it a full kind of completion of being held there. And we'll add some detail to it as we go along. But that's the general starting point, and just a bit getting just that opening into a space beyond that carries a bit of the quality of a cave forming its bottom and top through sedimentation. We'll work a little bit with layering, the carving out from water, and the layering down of drips to give it detail as we go. We can take a little time just in our mind to form how we might engage with the paper, something small, centralized, something encompassing and filling. And as you think through that, you let the hands feel it out and bring to mind the word tranquility. It's sort of a calmness, an easiness, a bit of an empty or held space to it that we'll explore. Let the hands feel a part of that, noticing where they engage most easily with the paper, so the drawing doesn't become overwhelming or bring frustration to dealing with larger areas bigger than it's easy to reach to, or isn't too shrunken down or out of place that it becomes a compositional challenge. Knowing now, as we get started, where you'll engage, and then along the way we'll adjust and adapt to whatever comes. Somewhere there as we'll make our first inroads into the drawing, even feeling out a little first with the finger of where our first ceiling drip will come down, our first rising pillar will come up, the sense on the paper, and the nose, just kind of a cone reaching down, whatever form we feel like it taking. Doesn't need to reflect the actual stalactite condition, or just a profile from the top reaching downwards, and then a similar, maybe slightly different profile from the bottom reaching upwards, leaving the ends a bit open. Now just forming that relationship on the page. And if we want to stick kind of in the 2D profile realm, you build a few off, taking the top curve out, letting it reach down again, near or far, establishing another axis or something along the bottom will work its way up towards it over time. Already the beginning of that opening into space beyond the cave there, the space where we are just outside looking through. Maybe had a couple of more, maybe some small ones, larger ones, playing a little with the shapes, finding above and below if it helps to air align things, use your hand or your eye to set up that relationship and get close. And I'm going to begin to close off the space to wrap it into a complete shape, working around the edges, left or right. Something there a little bumpy, a little natural. But you can add a few more little moments of blips up and down, slowly starting well into their life, forming a column. And as you're ready, close up that shape so we have a clear out here stuff and then in there beyond element. We will work for a moment on the out here. This could be thought of as kind of a section or a cut, but we might also just see a bit from a larger chamber to a smaller chamber. I'm going to think of some veins or lines forming along each of these. When you see is to start entering kind of our breath space. But as the water drips down from above, it may make these channels follow roughly the form, follow roughly each other, but wiggle just out into the space. And as we work between each one, they reach upwards towards each other, vaulting. We have a general sense of the shape of the space. They're going beyond the shape or profile that we see with the form. And we'll start to take some breaths with these. As you're ready with ones knowing the pattern, taking a breath in where it begins and slowly moving along on the exhalation. Do a few that move quite slow, an easy pace, feeling out the formation of those curves, tracking along the whole exhalation to inhale to begin, and exhale through the whole movement out into the forming space above from the profile. Shorter lines, smaller areas. You move very slow from that inhalation, gradually out, exhaling. Breathing in to start the reverse journey, tracking where that flow of minerals and water may have come from. Slowly filling out the lungs with fresh, oxygenating air. Slowly releasing carbon dioxide and other used products back into the space around you. The breath, a guide, for letting the eyes see more gradually the figures and shapes you form, maybe opening some opportunities for adding thickness and parallel relationships, contouring and expanding what forms the overall surface of a space, giving the imagination a little time with each breath to take in what's there before, blend it, what might be in the imagination or the memory. To see the curves, directions, to follow or bend them. To read the density and work within it. One slow breath forming the light edges of things. If you find areas where you start to get drawn into the detail, maybe want to make some smaller, quicker marks, and let it happen for a moment. Notice it, recognize it, bringing definition to zones of detail, and then after it plays out for a moment, taking that step back, noticing your engagement, recalibrating to the cycles, slow, tranquil breathing, inhalation to start a new track, small or long, and bring it back to the calm, replenishing for a moment. No problem going into the details. Follow it for what it offers and guides, what interests you, and then recalibrate now and then to just give your eyes and mind a little bit more time to see what's taking shape on the page. This can happen on the top, the bottom ones, left to right. Start to work your way around the sides. Finding that balance between deeper inhalations and long exhalations, long, clear curves, or short, marking out of edges. That opening taking shape, getting definition. Those elements reaching from below or above, becoming more material with each breath. Gradually forming out a little space there to inhabit. a connection internally between the movement of the hand, the tracking of the eye, and the rhythm of replenishing with the breath, a guide into a state of multi-layered awareness, the pieces all aligning together. An anchor or touchstone to go back to as things build up or we get lost in the track. Where should my next curve go? What shape does the next engagement make? A little breath in, the eyes find a place, an exhalation out, the hand makes something new through the mark. And then with time, the mind begins to integrate it, see the system, the way the curves work and interact. Unique to your drawing, your space. Building out a narrative visually through the imagination. The breath. Occasional moments of that tranquility, the cool, dark place seeping in. The necessary attention to all the pieces, the hand, the fingers, the eyes, the breathing, slowly drifting away from the foreground. Engagement with the paper, the story unfolding between the lines, the pencil, the pen, and the page coming forward into our attention. But if we get a little lost, find ourselves in a new territory of the drawing, with right or down, the way in, an inhalation to form out, place to start. An exhalation to begin just some new curves, however they may take shape there. Moving into the empty territory of the page from one line defining a boundary, an edge or center. And then we can take a few minutes and maybe bring more detail, more engagement. If you want to switch mediums, say a pencil for shading, pen to reinforce edges with a heavier line, feel free to do that. We'll keep working through the same medium as you tease out more and more of that tranquil space. You may draw a bit into the background, bringing things forward, heavier, darker line, lighter, darker edges, letting things recede back, form out lighter shapes just outside of our vision in the darkness. Less detail, but the space continuing. Highlighting some lines, letting others recede, building density, complexity into what we see. And just to play your emerging opening for 5 minutes or so. As you continue to draw into detail, the space beyond, filling it out, suggesting where your world takes shape in the space, in the detail, and a little bit of both, in the light and the dark. Notice where you're most engaged. Perhaps there's a draw to a specific imagination or memory of something, pulling you in to the shape of the figure, the detail, highlight, form, to notice what draws your attention here after a few lines, a few squiggly edges or contours start to define something that we see, or if it's all just some lines, the curves that attract the eye, curves that bring interest or definition, or a technique that feels nice, sometimes just moving the hand in a certain way gives it a little exercise, gets it engaged with the medium. You're even just noticing the quality or feel of the pencil that you're working with. Is it soft, feathery, inky, and smooth? Does it provide variation, correctness? Each tool with time we can begin to harmonize with, similar to the breath, knowing its strengths and weaknesses, its applications, and the ways we can bend those to start to say something unique in our expression. Any pencil is just what it is. A hardness, a flow of graphite braiding onto the paper, pen, type of tip, and a reservoir of some form of pigment or ink that moves at a certain pace when used in a normal way, with a little attention to those mechanisms. Some time spent noticing how they work. We can make a pen feathery light, pencil inky smooth. Sometimes they are tools, other times they are an extension, an instrument. And we have to play them with a little softness to find that open space. We can bring some calm and tranquility so we can see into the instrument's application and begin to shape the expression out into the page. And like many things, it's just the practice, the time spent opening up the door with a little bit of breath, a little bit of quiet attention. We can reveal our own mechanisms for play and engagement on the paper, with thousands of lines forming there, slowly shaping, maybe slowly calling us in deeper to the conditions on the page. More lines start to hide things. We choose to bring them forward or let them slip farther into the background. As we approach the end of the time of the exercise, we're to keep adding in detail, noticing and playing with that instrument to form out your space, and taking a slow step back, looking at what is formed, making a few specific engagements, a line not quite shaped, an area left just a little too vacant, place jumbled. It needs a little teasing out to see. Those final touches to the current engagement of the practice. And as you feel ready, with the last few marks, you can bring the pen or pencil to a rest. Set it down mindfully, whether on the page, to the side, wherever it goes for you. But with attention, this is where I'm putting it. This is how it's placed. As that comes to a rest, taking a few replenishing, re-engaging breaths to expand out the full torso and rib cage. Feel everything there in the body re-engage with the air and space around. Feel the exhalation sink all the parts into their place. Move around whatever's needed just to reintroduce the body to itself, to reintroduce your mind to the senses of what's around you. Maybe stretch a moment or two. Everything coming back together. If your eyes are open already, let them take in a few details around the space. If they're closed, let them open up to what's in front of you, to the side of you. Let them open new to the drawing as a start to some kind of adventure, journey, or just that held opening to tranquility on the other side. I hope you found a nice moment of calm in that wrapping of the space, of bringing some finer details of memory or imagination into it, of thinking through that tranquility that can come through a targeted act, a time of mindfulness and engagement on the paper, giving yourself that space to be just here and now, present with what you create. If you enjoyed the exercise, let me know what you found in the comments through the drawing practice, and join every Wednesday for usually new episodes of Mindful Drawing. Subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, and come back for more ways of engaging mindfulness through the act of drawing. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or evening, and draw well. Thank you.